In this session, we are going to study about placentation. So let us start with its definition. Placentation means arrangement of ovules within the ovary. Placentation is arrangement of ovules within ovary. So if you remember, when we studied about the structure of flower, within that we studied about gynoecium, or the structure of a pistil or carpel. There we studied that there is a basal swoller portion which is called the ovary, and within the ovary ovules are present which later form seeds, right? So how these ovules are arranged inside that ovary is called the placentation. Now when we study about the placentation, there are 5 main types of placentation. So starting from the first, we have marginal placentation. Now what is marginal placentation? Suppose this is the ovary. Then what happens? The placenta forms a ridge. Suppose this is the placenta. So it forms a ridge near the ventral suture of the ovary. So on the ventral side or on the ventral suture of the ovary, placenta forms a ridge, and along this ridge the ovules are present in 2 rows like this. So I'm drawing one row outside of the ovary here, but it's actually on the it's actually within the ovary on the other side of this ridge. So the placenta looks like this and the ovules are attached to it. This kind of placentation is called marginal placentation because the placenta is formed at the margin of the ovary. Alright, so this marginal placentation is seen in P. You must have opened a P and you must have observed this kind of structure inside the P, in which the seeds are born, the peas are born, right? So that structure is the marginal placentation. I hope it's clear to you. The second type of placentation is axial placentation. Axile placentation. Now in axile placentation we see that if we look at the top, if we cut the ovary and if we look from the top, then the axile placentation, what happens, there is a central axis. The placenta is formed in this central axis and it bears ovules like this. And usually there is a compartment within this ovary. There will be compartment. So such kind of ovary is called multilocular ovary. Multilocular means multi compartments, many compartments. Locule means cavity in ovary. Cavity in ovary is called locule. So since this type of ovary has multiple spaces or cavities which are separated from each other, it is called multilocular ovary. So the axial placentation is usually seen in multilocular ovaries, and multilocular ovaries are generally found in syncarpus ovaries or syncarpus pistil or carpel, you can say. We also studied about the apocarpus and syncarpus ovary, so I hope you remember the term. When more than one pistil are present, then their ovaries can fuse together and join into a one unit, that's called a syncarpus ovary, right? So each of the ovary will have its own compartment and they form multilocular ovary. So these are the characteristics of the axile presentation usually seen in multilocular ovary, where the placenta is formed at the axis or the central axis, and then ovules will be attached on that central placenta like this. So the examples of axile presentation are China rose, tomato, and lemon. I hope this is clear. Let us move on to the next type, which is parietal presentation. Now what happens in the parietal presentation is the ovary usually has two walls, outer and inner. So here the ovules are attached to the inner walls of the ovary like this. Inner walls, or we can also say that the ovules are attached at the periphery of the ovary. So this is ovary, this is the inner wall of the ovary. And these are the ovules. All right, and this kind of ovary is usually one chambered. There's no septum inside the ovary, but a false septum develops, which is called a rhaplum. False septum develops, which is called a rhaplum. But ovary is usually one chambered. So this is the characteristic of parietal presentation, in which the ovules are born at the inner walls of the ovary and a false septum called rhaplum is found. Examples are mustard and argemone. Then the next type is called free central. In the free central type, the placenta is formed at the central axis and the ovules will be attached to it like this. All right, and there is no septa. This kind of presentation we studied, you might find it similar with the axile presentation, but in axile presentation, septa was present, the ovary was chambered, but here no septa is present. The placenta is born on the central axis and then ovules are present like this, attached to it. And the example of free central, primrose and dianthus. Then the last type is called basal presentation. What happens in basal presentation? Suppose this is the ovary, then at the base of the ovary, placenta is found, and attached to the placenta is generally one ovule. Single ovule is usually attached to the placenta, which is formed at the base of the ovary. This kind of placentation is called basal placentation. Alright, the examples for basal placentation are marigold and sunflower. So I hope what is placentation and the types of placentation are clear to you. Please remember the examples, they are very important. That's all for this session. Thank you so much.